In esports, nothing is certain. Sometimes you put in the work, stay the course, and climb the mountain to become a champion.
This is what peak League of Legends looks like, and it comes from Europe, a world record!
Other times, everything that can go wrong does go wrong in the most spectacular fashion imaginable.
Samsung Galaxy, your 2017 World Champions!
This is the story of one of the biggest meltdowns in League of Legends history. A story of how a team got fined for account sharing, had almost all of their players receive 2-year bans from major tournaments, and even had a manifesto written by their mid laner. This is the story of how CLG tried to big brain Riot and the LCS, and how it backfired right in their faces. Speaking of big brain, press the subscribe button if you have big brain. Yeah. Heading into the 2014 spring split, CLG brought on Monte Cristo, a caster for OGN and scene veteran, to coach the team remotely from Korea.
He'd had an opportunity to come back to the US probably in break from OGN. He was coming over to the house and coaching the team on a regular basis for like a week. And it was like a really, really good period for the team. The guys were really enjoying it. We were seeing a lot of improvement, success. That's where Monty started coming to the studio with us for some of the matches, and the spinner that he did, which became a meme.
Through his involvement, the team improved and went from a 6th place finish in 2013 to a 3rd place finish in both the regular season and the playoffs of the spring split 2014. While the result was solid, CLG had their sights set on 1st place. So, heading into the summer split, they made a roster change, replacing top laner Nyan with a mostly unknown Korean top laner named Seraph. With this change, CLG was confident that they had fielded a trophy-winning roster. The team comprised top laner Seraph, jungler Dexter, mid laner Link, bot laner Doublelift, and support Aframu, and of course, their remote coach Monty. Initially, the roster change seemed to be paying off. CLG was number 1 in the standings for the majority of the summer split, but the team still struggled against C9 and LMQ, the 2 favorites to win the split. Although CLG felt like their roster and coaching staff were good, the fact that Monty was in Korea while all the players were in North America meant that the team felt a little bit disconnected from each other.
He had frustrations about his ability to be effective remote, because it's very difficult obviously to make sure that the players are doing what you need them to do and retaining what you want them to have when you're not in the room, right?
Once the team had officially secured their spot in the playoffs, they had a crazy idea.
I can't remember who exactly floated the idea, but it definitely came up originally as a joke where it's dude, we should just go to Korea and boot camp and be with Monty so that he can work on developing the team, and then we'll come back for playoffs like Goku and Vegeta in the hyperbolic time chamber. Then it kind of evolved into wait, could we actually do this? We could just field whatever roster we wanted, and the results don't matter, and the team could go to Korea and get better, and we'd have a better chance at making worlds.
So, that's exactly what they did. CLG just had one more weekend to play before playoffs began. They fielded a team of players from around the scene who weren't starters, and threw them onto a team with Hotshot GG, the founder and owner of CLG, who hadn't played for CLG since 2013.
I mean, I just remember being contacted about it. It's yo, how would you like to sub for CLG? I was oh, that sounds amazing. Who are my teammates? And then I was wait, those are all subs. What's happening to the main roster? Oh, the main roster's going to Korea. We need you guys to play, and we don't really care if you guys win or not. I was this doesn't sound like I thought it was going to sound.
The team Hotshot constructed was a band of misfits. Hotshot himself in the mid lane, Nyan was back in the top lane, Thinkcard, an amateur at the time, filled in as jungler, Chaos was the former ADC for TSM, who hadn't competed in the LCS since being replaced by Wild Turtle, and he was joined in bot lane by Baby, now known as Big, who was an amateur player at the time.
I think he put it together based on a combination of what would be fun, who he liked, who he thought was good, and really, the goal was maybe we squeak out a win or two.
While this team was filled with some fairly notable names, the only player on that roster who is still a part of the LCS to this day is Thinkcard, who's the head coach of NRG.
I got rank 1 that year in solo queue twice. People thought of me as okay, this guy might be the next big jungler, so I was getting pretty hyped up. I was on the come up, so I was pretty excited about it. right off the bat, like, I want to scrim because, you know, I'm super tryhard, and Hotshot was like, no, we're not scrimming. Like, he didn't really care. He was completely checked out.
While the sub roster was facing the trials of the main stage, CLG's main roster was facing reality in Korea.
Riot, understandably, wasn't super happy with our decision to kind of exploit this loophole and send the team off to Korea and field kind of like a joke roster for LCS. And so I remember receiving a not very happy call. The guys needed Korean accounts to play on in Korea, and we couldn't do that without Riot. But they felt, and I think justifiably so, like we were kind of flipping them the finger, and then on the back end of that also asking for Korean accounts. And I believe as well that we had secured Korean accounts without Riot like approval, which is like super TOS. And then they were like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you went here without permission. You're using non verified Korean accounts, and now you want us to get you like legit Korean accounts. They were probably unreasonably accommodating and understanding, and I think at least saw that we were trying to do this from a place of not like malice or contempt for the league. Certainly, we wanted to create an interesting storyline and also give the team the best chance to succeed and perform.
While Riot ended up allowing the bootcamp to go through, account sharing, especially in Korea, is a big issue. As a result, Riot had to put their foot down and punish CLG. When all was said and done, all players except Seraph, who was a native Korean player and played on his own account, were fined $1,250 and were banned from all OGN tournaments for the next 2 years.
The team kind of got crushed a lot, and that kind of hurt morale, and then it kind of snowballed. There was a lot of, responsibility that was put on, Matt and Monty and Susie, in addition to all their regular responsibilities to try and oversee the team and, help them through this period and stuff like that. So unfortunately, in going to Korea, it didn't really draw the team together. It kind of pulled them apart. And the competitive practice, while certainly like better than what we were getting in the US, because the team's like mental state ended up suffering so much, I think really just kind of ended up being like a negative instead of a positive.
Link, their mid laner, would later go on to release what has been referred to as his Dunzo Manifesto. Near the end of the manifesto, Link goes over explicitly what happened between the team from his perspective. He cited communication and chaos as the major problems with the team. While it may seem melodramatic, it's a window into the disarrayed state of the team. These players were sent halfway around the world to scrim some of the top teams in Korea, and their org was investing in them. Their coaching staff expected a lot from them, leading to tons of internalized pressure. Pressure that they began to buckle beneath. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, the sub-only Dream Team was quickly becoming a fan favorite.
I like the way that the whole community kind of rallied behind us. It felt like no matter what, everyone was rooting for us, which was a really cool thing. And anytime something went right in game, like we heard the crowd after the game, everyone's going crazy. I think we were nicknamed like Nien and the Boys or something. I don't know, just like the vibes were so cool, especially after the first game, and everyone was like super try hard on the team. But the first game we played, we were in a really good spot and we almost won. And then after the game, Hotshot was like, damn, we should have scrimmed. We probably could have beat them. I was like, yeah, no shit, man.
Although they lost their first game of the weekend, it was close, and everyone, it seemed, was cheering for them. Unfortunately, that first close game was the closest this sub-team got to a win. They went on to lose their next 3, going 0-4 on the main stage. Despite losing so many games, Thinkcard says the team didn't get too sad about it. They were just happy to be there, enjoying their time in the limelight.
I thought it was fun the whole time. I mean, I was making some good plays, so like even though we lost, like I was still getting some traction and people were coming up to me and be like, oh, like you played really well. So I was still having fun for sure. I just really wanted to win a game. Legitimately, we probably could have won maybe 2 or 3 of them. The last game, Cloud9 kind of trounced us, so I'll give them that one. Cloud9 was good. But the other games we definitely could have won.
So, while the team of subs was having the time of their lives in the LCS, the main roster was fighting for their lives across the Pacific. With the combined pressure of their coaches, org, and the expectations of their fans, CLG's star-studded roster fell apart emotionally without playing a single game on stage. It felt like they had lost before things had even begun. At the end of the 0-4 weekend, the main CLG roster returned home for playoffs, preparing to face off against Team Curse. Spirits were low, but they were still the top team in the league. Plus, most outside the organization had no idea about their inner turmoil. For all the public knew, CLG went to Korea, competed with the top teams in the world, and were ready to show off their newly refined skills. If they performed well, it would be obvious that their trip to Korea was a success. But if they lost the series, they'd be out of the playoffs, meaning all of this work, the bootcamp, the sub roster, the Riot account debacle, it would have been for nothing. The first game against Curse Gaming started off pretty well. Doublelift on Twitch was able to get a couple of kills early, and CLG was ahead in gold by the 30-minute mark. But things went south during a crucial Baron fight when Curse feigned retreat only to re-engage and ace CLG, taking a mid turret shortly after. CLG bounced back through the late game, but kept losing teamfights. After Doublelift got caught and melted, CLG ultimately lose after 50 minutes. The next game was not as close. CLG looked dejected and got speedrun in only 22 minutes. For a fighting chance not only at qualifying for Worlds, but also staying alive in the series, they desperately needed a win. The game started slow, with CLG overextending and giving up first blood. Then, CLG lost the first teamfight and decided to play defensively. With Curse slowly but surely taking control of the map, the nail in the coffin came during Curse's Baron attempt. Since they were up more than 12k gold, CLG stood no chance. They got wiped, and Curse pushed to win, eliminating CLG from the playoffs and destroying their hopes for the season. Even though their World's hopes were crushed, the team still had to play a best of 5 against Dignitas to see who would be placed 5th and who would be placed 6th. The team wasn't just fighting for placement, they were fighting to avoid potential relegation. In the first game, CLG actually got a win, and the players could take a breath of relief knowing it wouldn't be a clean sweep. Unfortunately, Dignitas came back and won 3 in a row. Ultimately, CLG felt like a shadow of their former self, and despite going into the hyperbolic time chamber known as Korean League of Legends, they had nothing to show for it. Although the story is one of tragedy, it didn't go without its highs. Thinkcard remembers the time fondly, as does most of the sub roster.
I mean, they were the first ones. Props to them. They handled all the flame, came back, lost. They had to handle the flame too. So it's like when you are paving the way for something, if it doesn't work out, you're going to get flamed. So I do appreciate like the confidence and the fact that they went for it, but it definitely did not work out.
Despite the disaster of 2014, Hotshot was right, and the team quickly turned things around in 2015, winning the 2015 Summer Split and the 2016 Spring Split. And although the Korean Bootcamp experiment failed, it gave us one of the best storylines in League of Legends history. If you want more League of Legends content, you can check out this video talking about the Korean solo queue legend, Apto. Just click here. Shoutout and thanks to Cloud, Steph, B, Pass, Shampoo, and Yashichi for being patrons of the channel. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is much appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.